Give me room to work all the way around it. This is good? Yeah. Good. So let's start unwrapping it. And you guys can take the truck and start walking.
What are you? Here?
This stump has been outside for almost 3 years, so it's not in the best shape. We have to clean all the dirt off it and figure out how to make the molds without disturbing the stump. We've already pulled some paper off that attached to the dirt from the when the World Trade Centers came down. All the papers that flew out of the windows landed in the churchyard. There may be bits of bone in the dirt from either the World Trade Center or from the fact that this came from a cemetery. So the roots have wrapped around 300 years of inhabitants. So this all has to be done with extra sensitivity considering where it came from. We'll sift all the dirt, looking for any artifacts. I feel more like an archaeologist than an artist at this point.
Very excited today to receive this wonderful gift to Trinity Church in Lower Manhattan of the Root, which helps us remember and recall the events of 9/11 and really any other tragedy throughout the world, but also to see the great hope and wonder that comes from a root, how it brings new life and new growth and hope to us all. This will be a wonderful addition to the hearts of Trinity, located here at Trinity Church and linked to the organic root of the sycamore tree in the churchyard at St. Paul's Chapel.
It's too bad they didn't get the lowering of the it's phenomenal that CNN.
So it's about 40 foot up there.
It is?
This baby's going to go up. Yeah, like 40, 50 feet.
You're sure about what you've done here? The whole world's watching. I'll be much happier when this thing's in. I'd love to ride on it, I'll tell you. Be the ride of a lifetime. Thanks. I tend to move a little forward so it's not too crushed up against the back.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, that we have this flow pattern and that flow pattern.
There's plenty of room. It's only 15 feet wide. Initially, we were talking about 23.
Right. Yeah, we're going to be fine with this.
We're pretty good. Just have them come down. Okay, let's go down to a foot. That's good.
Fall back. Yeah, Steve, give
right about
I think it's going to come back to here. Come back to here. And we're going to go over one block. Let's unspin it just a little bit. I love this crane. I want one. Watch your feet. The piece will be slightly turned in this direction, which it is. I'm not settled on exactly the amount, but I didn't want it architecturally aligned. Art is not supposed to, like the cube down there is on its Roots are an enduring symbol of our unity. When the World Trade Centers came down, the tree that saved the chapel became a symbol of hope and sacrifice. St. Paul's Chapel became the heroic face of humanity in response to the inhumanity at Ground Zero. The Trinity Root is for the victims, their families, the rescue workers, and everybody else whose lives were forever changed by the events of 9/11. I hope this sculpture offers shelter, solace, and a sense of community to those who come to reflect. This project has been a 4-year journey from the events of 9/11 to its dedication here today.
Just go under it. Just go under it. Oh, there.
We invite you to come and mingle and interact with us. Come touch it. Come touch it.
Well, I was one of the rescue workers here at the Trade Center, and I believe when the South Tower came down, this tree had already uprooted in the cemetery of St. Paul's, and I never knew that any of that took place. I was there when the North Tower came down, and when the North Tower came down, I ran towards St. Paul's to avoid that flume that I imagine most people saw on TV and stuff like that. But importantly, there was a piece of fire apparatus parked on the street just to the rear of the cemetery of St. Paul's. And that piece of fire apparatus was very heavily damaged from the jet fuel and the heat and the collapse of the North Tower. When the South Tower had come down, I ran toward that area, and just from fatigue, I just wasn't going any further, and I went underneath that piece of fire apparatus. After everything had stopped and everything had calmed down, coming back out of that piece of that shroud from the fire apparatus, there was this root system that stood straight up in the air as if to protect the church from any damage. And if you know anything about St. Paul's, nothing was damaged in that church, not any glass, not anything in that church was damaged. But yet 50 yards across the street was the North Tower, Building 5, and everything else that went with it. And in addition to all of that, the branches of this tree had kind of come over top of the wrought iron railing of the cemetery as if to protect the fire apparatus. And this whole thing was home for me for the first several days of the rescue, and I never knew that any of this took place.